Welcome to SS2 Economics, Term 3, Week 1. Today we study theories of economic development, the frameworks that economists have developed to explain why some countries grow rich while others remain poor, and what policies can help developing countries like Nigeria achieve sustained prosperity. Economic development goes beyond economic growth. Growth means an increase in GDP or national income. Development is a broader concept that includes improvements in living standards, reduction of poverty, better access to health care and education, and greater human freedom and choice. Nigeria has a history of economic growth driven by oil revenues, but growth has not always translated into broad-based development for the majority of Nigerians. Understanding development theories helps us think critically about what Nigeria needs to do differently. Walt Whitman Rostow was an American economist who proposed, in 1960, that all economies pass through 5 sequential stages of economic growth. Stage 1, Traditional Society. The economy is based on subsistence agriculture, with limited technology, rigid social structures, and fatalistic attitudes toward economic change. Most output is consumed locally, surpluses are rare. Stage 2, Preconditions for takeoff. New ideas about progress emerge, investment in education and infrastructure begins, agriculture becomes more commercial, and entrepreneurial class emerges. This stage often involves influence from more developed economies. Stage 3, Takeoff. This is the decisive phase, lasting 20 to 30 years. Investment rises to 10% of GDP or more, one or two leading industries grow rapidly and drag the rest of the economy. Old barriers to sustained growth break down. Rostow cited the Industrial Revolution in Britain, 1780 to 1800, cotton in the US, 1840s, and railways in Germany and France as the leading sectors driving takeoff. Stage 4, Drive to Maturity. Technology spreads to many industries, the economy diversifies, growth becomes self-sustaining, the economy integrates with the global economy. Stage 5, Age of high mass consumption. The population enjoys widespread prosperity, consumer goods industries, automobiles, appliances, suburban housing become dominant, the welfare state emerges. Critics of Rostow, the model is ethnocentric, all countries must follow the Western path, it underestimates the role of colonial history in preventing development, and the leading sector concept is vague. Where does Nigeria fit? Nigeria may be in stage 2 or early stage 3, with oil providing the takeoff engine but not broadly stimulating the rest of the economy. The Heredoma growth model is one of the most influential models in development economics. It states that economic growth is determined by 2 factors, the savings rate and the capital output ratio. Growth rate equals savings rate divided by capital output ratio. The capital output ratio, or V, is the amount of capital, or in monetary value, needed to produce 1 unit of output. If V equals 3, you need 3 million naira of capital to produce 1 million naira of output. The savings rate, S, is the fraction of income saved. Growth rate equals S divided by V. If a country saves 15% of its income, S equals 0.15, and the capital output ratio is 3, the growth rate equals 0.15 divided by 3, which equals 0.05 or 5%. To achieve a higher growth rate, a country can either increase its savings rate, invest more, or reduce its capital output ratio, use capital more efficiently. This model has a clear implication for developing countries. If domestic savings are insufficient to generate the required growth rate, the gap must be filled by foreign aid or foreign investment. This savings gap model was very influential in the 1950s to 1970s, justifying large-scale foreign aid programs. Criticisms assumes a fixed relationship between capital and output, but productivity can improve, ignores technological progress, and foreign aid fills the savings gap but may create dependence rather than self-sustaining growth. W. Arthur Lewis, a Nobel Prize-winning economist from the Caribbean, proposed in 1954 his model of development with unlimited supplies of labor. Lewis divided the economy into 2 sectors, the traditional subsistence sector, agriculture, and the modern capitalist sector, industry and services. In the traditional sector, there is a large surplus of labor, people are employed but their marginal productivity is very low, but close to zero. This surplus labor can be moved to the modern sector without reducing agricultural output. As the modern sector grows, it draws labor from the traditional sector, expanding output and profits. Profits are reinvested, expanding the modern sector further. This process continues until the labor surplus is exhausted and wages begin to rise, the lowest turning point. This model was influential in justifying industrialization policies. Developing countries should build modern industries, factories, urban employment, to absorb the rural labor surplus and transform the economy. Critics: the model assumes labor transfer is costless, ignores migration cost and urban poverty, it underestimates the viability of agricultural development, and in Nigeria, rapid rural-urban migration created large urban slums and unemployment rather than productive industrial employment, because the modern sector could not absorb all the migrants. Dependency theory, associated with economists André Gunda Frank, Raoul Prebisch, and Immanuel Wallerstein, offers a radical critique of mainstream development theories. Dependency theory argues that developing countries are poor not because of internal failures but because of their exploitative relationship with rich countries, the core. The global capitalist system is structured to benefit rich countries at the expense of poor ones. Colonialism extracted resources from Africa, Asia, and Latin America. Post-colonial trade relationships continue to favor manufactured goods importers, rich countries, over primary commodity exporters, poor countries. The Prebisch-Singer hypothesis, which we mentioned in the trade lesson, is a key element. The terms of trade of developing countries deteriorate over time, transferring income from poor to rich. Policy prescription, import substitution, industrialization, and ISI, produce domestically what you previously imported, behind high tariff barriers. Nigeria pursued ISI in the 1970s and 1980s with mixed results. Cement and textiles prospered temporarily, but many industries were inefficient and collapsed when protection was removed. The human development approach, associated with Amartya Sen and Mobile Hack, shifts focus from income to human capabilities, the ability of people to live long, healthy, educated, and free lives. The Human Development Index, HDI, published by the UNDP, combines income per capita, life expectancy, and education into a single indicator. Nigeria ranks low on the HDI, reflecting the mismatch between oil wealth and human development outcomes. To summarize, theories of economic development seek to explain how poor countries can achieve sustained growth and human welfare improvement. Rostow's 5 stages: traditional society, preconditions, takeoff, drive to maturity, high mass consumption. Heredoma, growth rate equals savings rate divided by capital output ratio, savings gap requires foreign aid or investment. Lewis dual sector model, transfer surplus labor from agriculture to modern industry until the Lewis turning point. Dependency theory, underdevelopment is caused by the exploitative global system, prescribes import substitution. Human development approach, development is about expanding human capabilities, not just income, measured by HDI. For Nigeria, oil has driven growth but not broad development. Diversification, human capital investment, institutional reform, and infrastructure development are needed. For WAEC, describe Rostow stages, explain the Heredoma model with a calculation, explain the Lewis model, distinguish the dependency theory view from mainstream theories, define human development and HDI.